Okay, so there's our first ad, and then we can get started. So thank you all for coming in today. Really excited for today's live stream. We are only 2 weeks away from giving away another shakuhachi. So really exciting stuff. I always love to give these things away. Like these is to get another person started on shakuhachi and have them have a really good instrument. Is it's just awesome. So I mean, it's just a great thing. So if you don't know about the online giveaway that we're doing, it's through the membership. So you join the membership on this YouTube channel, and there are a couple levels here. So you hit that join button, and then a bunch of levels pop up. So you'll get Shoden Trial, Shoden Lesson, Chuden, Okuden, and basically when you sign up for one of these levels, you're automatically entered into the raffle to win a free flute. So Shoden Trial, you get 1 ticket. Shoden Lessons, you get 2. Chuden Level, you get 3. Okuden, you get 4. And that is how that works. If you can do me a favor and just hit the like button on this video, and that kind of boosts the algorithms and stuff. Always appreciated. I always appreciate all the extra support and help. And so, anyways, here we are. Really excited to get started today. So, and just as a side note here too, this is the shakuhachi we're going to be giving away this time. Really beautiful bamboo. Sounds great too. So it's going to be a great instrument for whoever gets it. So really, really looking forward to seeing who gets that flute too. Okay, so with that out of the way, we can get started with this week's questions. As always, questions are that are given priority are through people who have the membership on here. I try to get to every single question, and so far we've been really fortunate that we've been able to do every single question that's been asked, minus one time I missed one. And then, of course, you are welcome to ask questions in the live stream as well. So feel free just if something pops into your mind and you have a question about shakuhachi, write it in the chat, and we will hopefully. And just as a update for what's going to happen next week is next week we will be doing that on even a later time as well. And I want to do one thing and make a quick little call to make sure that we all have people. Yeah, I thought that Dat, thank you for that. I thought that I might be clipping on that. I just turned down the audio a little bit on the shakuhachi because otherwise it was, like you said, it's going to clip. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Making a little phone call just to make sure we turn off some of the streaming services that I think my daughter might be using right now. Downloading those 4K videos makes things a little bit jumpy. Okay. All right. Cool. And now we go here. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our questions. I will keep my eye on my phone down here to make sure everything is running smoothly. Okay. Oh, and we also have an audio submission too this time. Hopefully we can get to that as well. Okay, so the first question that we have is, what are shakuhachi modes? So with that, there's actually a video that I have, which is called The Modes of Shakuhachi. It's part of my Japanese music theory series. So I'm going to pull that up really quickly and post that into the chat. Modes of Shakuhachi. And so I'm going to give a brief answer now. And then I recommend that those who are interested, that later, after this video, after our live stream, you go and check out this one, which is the Modes of the Shakuhachi. Okay? And I'll example everything here on this one. So, okay, I think the top one's clipping a little bit too. There we go, that's much better. And I see your question, Ed. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you, brother. And hopefully I'll get to that just right after this modes. So, like in Western classical music, we have modal music as well. There's been a large tradition of traditional composers who write in modal music. The church modes, for example, in the Catholic Church, they would write in those sort of modalities, and even Baroque music and music that was prior to. And even like the major scale is a mode, right? That's a type of mode. The minor scale is also a type of mode as well. So in Japanese music, the mode that we're primarily going to be focused on within the modern context is called the Myakobushi scale, or the Myakobushi mode. And this mode is found in different positions on the shakuhachi, and sometimes we can have that one I just played, which is the Myakobushi mode, or sorry, the Honchoshi mode, and then we have the Akebono mode, which starts on roll. And then we have another mode, which is the Kumoi mode, which starts on Ri. Almost forgot my modes for a second. The way that we approach it in the modern context is different than how they would approach it in the classical context. So definitely go and check out that video if you are interested in more about modes. Doug, good to see you. Thank you for being in here. So Ed asked this question: what would the shakuhachi duet well with a euphonium or trombone? Not really. And the reason why is because of how much just space and sound that brass instruments take up. When I was studying composition at university, one of the things that I had asked about when writing a concerto, and mistakes that I made, is that I wrote too heavy for brass instruments. Brass instruments just fill the hall, right? So that makes them wonderful solo instruments. So if you think of trombone, like trombone is a great concerto instrument. It's going to play over an orchestra all day, every day of the week, no problem. But because you have an instrument that's that powerful, they're not going to be able to necessarily utilize the range that you would want to be able to use and access all the colors with the shakuhachi. Now, does that mean it's not possible? No. I mean, of course you can. I think that euphonium would probably be a better option. It has a little bit of that warmer sound, and it's not going to be so overpowering, but it's a pretty powerful instrument. I'm not sure that it would go over very well. It would be something that I would want to sit down with a euphonium player and maybe try something out first and see if the sounds would work. But great question, and a very interesting question too. So thank you for that. Okay, next question we have over on the Discord is: can you briefly go over towari and modern tuned flutes? Yes, I'll briefly go over that. So let me grab my Edo period flute really quickly. And so with the Edo period instruments, they are tuned in the towari position. And when you're tuned in the towari position, what happens is that the chi is going to be sharp. So I'll just play the scale going up, and you can hear it. This is without any adjustments. So you can hear that. That note's already really sharp. So what they would do for the towari flutes is that you drop your head on that chi to balance it out. So that's basically what it is. Now, on modern flutes, that chi is already lowered. So you don't have to do nearly as much head movement in order to get that A in tune, or whatever flute size you'd be using. On a 1.8, it will be A. So that's the very brief difference between towari and the modern flutes. Now, there are other styles. There's also kyuhanwari. There's also juhanwari as well. So there's a variety of different spacings between those holes that were found in the Edo period. Okay, here are the 10 questions I have here, and I also have some questions from Audrey and so on. So here we go. And HSBP is here moderating. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Feel free to ask your questions, and if there's a video that I mention or something like that, he will find it rapid fast, and then he will post it in here for me. He's a good guy. Very helpful. Not on payroll, but sometime soon. Okay, question 1. What was the most challenging piece you've ever performed on shakuhachi, and why? I would probably have to say it's a tie between 6 scenes from Basho and episodes of Renka. So both of those are also on YouTube as well. And 6 scenes, I think it's from Basho, and they're both by the composer Stephen Yip. And they are very hard. Very, very difficult pieces of music. It's I wouldn't say it's in the range of like Ferneyhough, but there's a lot of like interesting and difficult to pull off textural combinations between the one piece, which is string quartet and shakuhachi, and the other one, which is solo soprano and shakuhachi. Both of them are very difficult in their own rights, but man, I love those pieces. Those are so much fun to play, and what I like about them, even though they're extremely difficult, is that it's so worth it in the end. Like after you're done playing it, you feel satisfied, like musically satisfied. So those are the 2 pieces that are most difficult. Okay, how do you approach composing for traditional instruments like the shakuhachi versus Western instruments like the viola or the piano? Okay, this is a really good question, but it's actually a very simple answer. I don't compose them differently. As a composer, I have my own individual voice that I'm trying to express. And there are instruments I just don't write for because I don't think that my voice works well with that instrument. So for example, I've never really worked on writing a major trombone piece. Trombone doesn't necessarily, at this point in time, fit with the voice that I'm going for. I've never written a major piece for tuba or trumpets. I've done a lot of stuff with French horn in terms of like using it in orchestral settings. I really like French horn. But yeah, so it's more about that. But the process of it is the same. You study the instrument, you learn how how the instrument works. You study it, you learn the score and repertoire of all the major repertoire of the instrument, and you learn from those, and then you start writing your piece. All right, Doug has a question from the live stream, which is the shakuhachi ever in a toning, in an intonation other than 440 tuning? Yes. You'll find a lot of people who tune their shakuhachis to 442 or sometimes 444, and there are other people who tune them to 432 and somewhere in between. It just depends on the individual maker and what context. The Japanese orchestras, I believe, right now are tuning 443 or 442. It's quite sharp. I'm a 440 guy myself. But yes, they do have them in other tunings. And the shakuhachi is so flexible anyways that, I could probably play mine as in general, a couple cents sharp and a couple cents flat. So, 3. Here's another one from the Discord. Can you explain how different lengths of shakuhachi change the sound and playing techniques? Yes, I can, actually. That's a good question, too. Mainly on like the shorter end flutes, like anything from like 1.6 to about 2.0, the playing technique is going to be pretty much the same. 2.1 is going to change a little bit, but once you start getting 2.2 and longer, then the technique changes, and it's mainly on how you carry yourself and how you move your body. Like, when you play a long flute, you have to be like, I like to shift one shoulder forward and the other shoulder back, but at the same time, when I do that, I want to make sure my hips align. So the shakuhachis actually play a little bit off, which means I have to move the head off to the side too. So there's more, like, when you have a longer flute, you have to be a lot more conscientious of how your body is being positioned with the instrument. So that would be, the big thing for playing techniques. The other thing too, like in terms of changing the sound, the way that you shape your embouchure is going to be different. You're going to need a much wider and more open embouchure for those longer flutes, and then vice versa, tighter embouchure for the shorter flutes. Playing techniques as well. Koro doesn't work really well on like the longer flutes at a fast movement. Like if I was going to try to do a koro on the 3.0, it'd have to be a very slow back and forth motion rather than like on like a 1.6, it'd be like rapid, and you get kind of a really different flavor. Okay. The next question I'm not going to answer today because I think it's way too big of a question, and we will. I'm actually going to go over this in a video with Nick at some point, which is what are some of the key differences between Hito Yogiri and shakuhachi in terms of technique and musical expression. I'll give a little bit of an answer. Is that there's a lot of things that they share, a lot, but there are a few things that are different. But I want to save those and I want to elucidate on them more in a long form video. Okay, how did you overcome the barriers of studying traditional Japanese music as a foreigner in Japan? Well, honestly, I don't think that there is as many barriers now as there were back in the day. So, for example, when John Kaizan Neptune was first learning the shakuhachi back in early 80s, that's a totally different world than it is today. Those barriers were a lot higher, but because of people like him, it's easier for people like me to come in and be able to learn and study. It's much more expected that there's going to be a lot more foreigners that are learning shakuhachi. So I would say that entering into the shakuhachi world wasn't very difficult, but remaining in is very difficult, especially on the Japanese front, because in the Japanese front, there's a lot of just unspoken rules and cultural things that just as us as foreigners, you would never know. And by the time you make the mistake, you'll have someone tell you. What I think is at least nice, though, is that when you do make a mistake, people will say, they'll teach you, and they'll say, oh, don't worry, you have gaijin pass aruka. You have a gaijin pass, and so you're okay to make the mistake. Just don't make it again, right? That kind of thing. So it's fine. But that being said, overcoming that, you just learn it. I don't think there was anything really major that I felt like I was that was a setback for it. Okay, what do you think the most misunderstood aspect of shakuhachi music is outside of Japan? Probably how much the rhythm is, the rhythm in honkyoku. The rhythm in honkyoku is breath-based, not heartbeat-based. There are techniques that involve heartbeat and sort of those rhythmic ideas, but it's really breath-based, and it should be based off of your own breath. And the more that you can match with how you breathe and you learn your own breath, the better it becomes. And that's kind of at the center of even that ma, how you use space and time. And it's not just blank space. That's not what it is. It's something there, right? But it's I would think that would be the number one thing. Okay, next question here is, what advice would you give to someone just starting out learning the shakuhachi or another traditional instrument? First, getting started out. Don't get discouraged if things like good tone and good sound don't come out, or if certain sounds are really difficult. For example, I've been doing a lot of these community posts, and I've seen multiple times where people have told me that the kan register, the second octave of the shakuhachi, has been very difficult for them, and it's been a big barrier for them to pass. I'd say, look, those things are going to pass over time. You will get through them. It's like when Mahler was asked about writing one of his symphonies. He said, it's like I'm beating my head against a brick wall, and I think the brick wall is going to give. Right? That's kind of how some things are with shakuhachi, and most of those things happen right in the beginning. After the beginning goes through, it's much easier. It just the barrier to entry is so high. Then after that barrier is gone, then it's slow uphill. It's not that bad. Doug has another question here in the live stream. It says, do you practice the technique of circular breathing in your practice? No. And that was easy. Okay, next one. We have here, how do you balance modern compositions with the preservation of traditional shakuhachi repertoire in your performances? Okay. So, I'll say that, even the way that most shakuhachi players play shakuhachi honkyoku music, it's not in the traditional style. That's not how it sounded, 150 years ago. For somebody, if you want to hear what shakuhachi music sounded like 150 years ago, go and listen to the guys that have the recordings. Minamoto Unkai and friends, Miyagawa Nyozan, Higuchi Taizan and his students. Or if you want to listen to a living person, go listen to Nick Belando, because Nick Belando plays incredibly well, and his style of traditional way he plays traditional music, I think would probably be the closest that you're going to get. He also studied with somebody who was in that camp, of just playing very, very traditionally. So, but so even though I don't do it in that sort of style, I like to play that repertoire nonetheless. And I try to do it so I have it like that's something thematic. So depending on what the concert is. So one year I did a concert that was called Birds of Japan. So I did Yamamoto Hozan's Kari, which is geese, and then I did the Tsuru no Sugimori. I did Koden Sugimori, and I did some other pieces as well to help balance out. So I find themes like that that can, all of them can tie in together. Ed asked this: how helpful is it to first know the Japanese language and musical culture as a foreigner before learning shakuhachi musical notation, especially if Western culture and musical notation is first? So meaning if you know that like musical notation first, but not the other one. So actually having a musical background is going to help you a lot with learning Japanese music. It's a great way to say this is it's really helpful to know one language or even two languages before you start learning your third language, because especially let's say if you've already learned a second language, you know the process of how language learning works, and then when you learn your third one, it's a lot easier. Then the fourth one becomes even easier, fifth one even easier than that, and so on and so forth. But now Japanese language, it depends, right? If you're going to learn with a Japanese teacher, then obviously you're going to want to know Japanese. If you're going to be... it's hard to... It's just another thing too. Like back in John Kaizan Neptune's day, and even like 10, 15 years ago, there was not nearly as much material out there in English to help you get started on shakuhachi. Now there is so much stuff in English where I don't think you actually really need the language, but if you wanted to and you wanted to get deeper, then you would need the language. Okay? Think of it this way. If you're going to specialize in French Baroque music, it might be a good idea to know some French. If you're going to specialize in Mozart and Beethoven or even in some other operas, it might be a good idea to be able to have a working knowledge of French, Italian, and German. Because in all that opera music and all that landscape, they're using all of these languages. So that's what it is. How deep do you want to go? If you want to go really deep, for example, if you want to learn Sankyoku and you want to be really big into Sankyoku, that is the Koto Shakuhachi Shamisen, well, there's poetry that goes along with that. It would be a really good idea to know that poetry. Now, here's the thing, though, is that Christopher Blasdale came out with a new book with all the translations of them. Right? So even now you have all the translations in English, so you don't even need to have them in Japanese. I think it would be helpful to know Japanese and to know classical Japanese, so you could say this section here where they're saying kuro, that means black, and then they have kami here. Okay, that's hair. Okay, now I know that this section here is talking about the woman's black hair. Okay, so that's kind of like my little rabbit trail off into that a little bit. But most stuff is available in English now. Copy Ninja, thank you so much for your subscription to the membership. Good luck on the giveaway in a couple weeks. What was the best method you used to learn Japanese? Okay, there are a couple things I'm going to recommend here as what you should use. The first one you should use is Japanese Pod 101. Japanese Pod 101 is fantastic. They're really, really good about giving you a little bit of material at a time, and they have lots of listening examples which will help you develop your ears and your speaking. That's what I would do first, okay? And it's great. They go all the way up to really advanced Japanese. I think there's like 10 books that go along with it, and you can get them all on audio or Audible. You can also get them on Amazon and stuff like that too. The second thing that I would recommend is going through the Genki series, Genki 1 and Genki 2, and then there's a couple other books afterwards that have like a quartet. It's really good for intermediate in Japanese, and then after that you just go and read a bunch of material and just start communicating with Japanese people. But those would be the two ones. And with Genki, you should download the app called Anki and memorize the 2,500 some odd words that are in Genki and Genki 1 and Genki 2, because those are the most commonly used words in Japan, and you will hear them all the time. So that's what I would do for those. SYD seems to have a follow-up, and also thank you so much for your membership. Really appreciate it. Good luck on winning the bamboo flute in a couple weeks. So SYD says, hi, I want to ask you about Japanese stuff. Is it rude to try to speak to a Japanese person, especially older person with mixed language such as English and Japanese, since I don't actually speak Japanese? No, not at all. I don't think that's rude at all. Now, if the person is trying their damnness to speak English with you, and then you're just switching over to Japanese, that could be a little bit rude, right? And but not necessarily. It just kind of depends. But what I would do is just always try to use the standard teinego, or like a sonkeigo or a kenjougo, something like this when you're speaking. I wouldn't worry about all like the specific rules inside of keigo and all that stuff. That's, even Japanese mess this up all the time, right? It's a very complicated thing, and it's not something that they're using all the time as like a regular means of speech. It's like certain times in your work life that you have to use it. The people who are really, really good at keigo are people who work at ryokans and like high-end hotels. So if you want to get really good at that, you should either get a part-time job at a ryokan or a high-end hotel, or work with somebody who's done those kind of positions before, because they're very, very good at it. They have to be. Doug, have a great night. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you. Okay, let's get back into over here some more questions from the Discord. Thank you guys so much for all of your questions. Happy to answer more questions about Japanese culture and Japanese language as well. Okay, could you tell us about your experience collaborating with Western musicians like harpists or pianists in cross-cultural performances? Yeah, they've been very great. I do find it a lot easier to work with Western classical musicians in general, just because I know that world so well. I've been a part of it since I was a kid. So the way that they do rehearsals, the way that we talk to each other, how we set up performances, I'm used to all of that, and it's very comfortable. Japanese, working with traditional Japanese musicians, I have a couple people that I like to work with, and they're very well integrated with Western classical music too, so they're very easy to work with. There's a guy in Osaka I'm working with right now. When we hang out, we jump in, we drink tea, we talk about some stuff, and then we play the pieces, work on the parts we want, drink some more tea, and say, well, that was nice, I guess I'll see you next week then. And it's good. So, but I would say that on the Western side, the cross-cultural performances, it's very easy. It's very, very easy for me because I'm used to it. What's the most memorable feedback or question you received from your students or following during a live stream or class? I had a really good one 2 weeks ago, and I can't remember what it is now. All I know is I remember it was a really great question. I'll have to think on that one and come back to it. So, Arcus from Discord says, why is tonguing not a part of the tradition? Great question. I'm not sure. So, not really sure about that. Ed says, Renzo has played one of my pieces. He did so well. Brought me to tears. Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, that was back when my gago, my pseudonym was Renzo. So, the piece was Lamentations, and that's also on YouTube as well. It was a Shakuhachi solo piece. Okay, so you want me to boost up the mic just a little bit? I can do that. We can pull it up just a little bit more, so it might be easier to hear me now. I also could speak more into the mic too. That would probably be helpful as well. But hopefully this volume level is now a little bit better. I'm just always worried about it clipping once I start playing Shakuhachi. So, but hopefully you can hear me better now. And perhaps I need to invest in a live stream mic, like all of those famous YouTubers have. I'll kind of look in a little bit to why tonguing is not a part of the tradition. I'm not really sure on that answer, actually. This would be something I'll have to talk with some of my friends about and get an answer. So thank you for that question. I'll look into it. Okay, Audrey. We have some questions from Audrey. Is it okay to cheat when playing Chihi really fast by not using hole 1 and holes 2 on he? Yeah, so we actually talked about this in a previous live stream too. So when you play that,
like that kind of sound, you don't have to use these bottom two, because those, like the tone color there, you're not going to hear the difference. You don't have enough time or length on the note to hear the difference of it. So yeah, you don't have to. Okay, another technical question here from Audrey. When playing Sumeri, Re, Sumeri roll very quickly, I find it challenging to land the fingers properly on the second Sumeri. When my ring finger lands on a hole, it doesn't close correctly and the Sumeri sounds off. How can I fix that? Okay, so this is really common in a lot of Japanese music, like for us, where we have this kind of figure. And so that, it's also it's really close to like one of those meme songs I'm thinking of. I think it's actually something like that. But anyways, so here it would just basically be an issue of repetition. So, and I would do like rhythmic exercises with it. So starting kind of like doing slow, fast, or long, fast, long, short, short, long, that kind of thing. Something like that, and create little different patterns and games to kind of play with over it. That way you can develop it, because it's just it's a muscle memory thing more than anything else, right? Great question. Okay, so let's see. Vasily has one in the live stream here. What's the best way to train that stiff left hand ring finger? Ah, that thing. By the way, yuzu water is so good. Highly recommend, or sudachi water rather. Sudachi water is fantastic. Okay, so I like this exercise. There's a couple things you can do here, actually. The first things you can do with your hands in general, and this is one I picked up from my first teacher, is where you just open up the hands quickly and train the muscles going the other direction. Because sometimes it's not an issue of the hand closing. We're very used to that. Like even if I grab my sudachi water, I grab and I grip pretty hard, but when I release the cup, I don't release the cup open, right? I'm not like opening the hand really quickly. So to train the muscle groups like this would be really helpful, and just kind of doing that. And that way you'll be able to open the hand faster, because that's probably where the issue is happening. Then after that, then it's just doing like rhythmic exercises as well. One last final thing too is that you don't actually have to lift the finger that high up off the instrument. Like sometimes you'll see people do this. You don't have to lift it that high. Just far enough away from the hole. That's a good distance. But if you go any closer, listen to what happens. You don't want to cover the air that's coming out of it, because it will flatten the pitch. So find a good distance to lift up, but not that high, right? You don't want to go too far. Just a little bit. And then you'll get it. The finger will start to move more naturally. So that's my recommendation for that one. Another question from Audrey over here is, a few weeks ago, links to documents about shakuhachi history were shared on the Discord. Among them was a page dedicated to komuso representation in Japanese art. It featured several supposed female komuso and also komuso playing the shakuhachi together. Is that historically accurate? Any recommended readings? Reading recommendation is welcome. Yeah, so I asked Torsten about this too, and there's no records of female komuso. There is supposedly one person who was playing shakuhachi who was a woman, but as far as I know, and from what I've been told from Torsten and some other scholars, I don't think there was any females playing it, because the komuso was a fraternity. It was men only. Okay, as a non-Japanese shakuhachi player, is there a point on the learning journey where it becomes necessary to understand Japanese? Again, it just depends on how far you want to go. Like, if you're going to go all the way to like full-time pro, you really need to learn Japanese. I know people who haven't done that, and they've had nice careers as shakuhachi players. But really, if you want to have access to all the stuff, you know, you should learn the language. And like this, I think this is more of an American thing. You know, Americans are really bad about learning other languages and learning them well. And I think that's just because of geographically where we are, right? We don't have other countries close by, and where we would be able, or it would be necessary for us to learn another language. Just like Japanese people, most Japanese people don't speak another language, right? They're forced to learn English in their program, but they don't really know English. So, you know, but people on the southern border, there's a lot more people who can speak Spanish that are closer to Mexico, right? Because it's more necessary for them. But in this case, yeah, I would learn Japanese. It's not that hard. Okay, what made you decide to play the shakuhachi? So I actually started playing the shakuhachi in my beginning years of college. I had a back injury and I couldn't play violin and viola anymore. And I mean, I could, but it's just so painful. And even when I graduated college, I decided to start playing a little bit more. I taught violin, I taught viola, and I played in some orchestras and stuff. But the pain started coming back really hard in my lower back, so I had to stop. But during that time, I picked up shakuhachi, and I just like found it randomly. Actually, I already knew a lot of Japanese language. I could speak some Japanese. I really enjoyed Japanese culture, everything from like history, samurai, and like modern animes. I really liked kind of like Edo policy and stuff, and how I was very fascinated with how just the whole entire culture of Edo just functioned at that time. And I basically ran into shakuhachi online on YouTube and just hearing it, and I was like, wow, I know that sound. That's the sound that I heard in like video games when I played, and that's the that's the sound I heard in a bunch of movies and stuff. So it was that was the thing that was really deciding. I thought, like, why not? I want to play an instrument. I don't want to just give up and not play music and just write music. I want to perform. So, Daktar question: for most people who do not have perfect pitch, please give us some helpful tips to stay in tune when playing shakuhachi. Thank you. Staying in tune when playing shakuhachi is my recommendation is to play along with a drone. So if you use like something like tonal energy, that's a great tool and great application to develop pitch. So that's what I would use. Is just utilize a drone. Other than that, I would do a lot of pitch training. So playing scales and singing scales and stuff like that. The more you can sing and hit those pitches, the better your overall intonation is going to become. And there it is. But be very careful with intonation, like trying to create like this perfect pitch. Like I need to hit it just like as it is on the piano. You do not want to play like that. That's not how music works, right? And that's not how pianos were tuned up until like 1910. Debussy's personal piano tuner could tune it like that. Could tune 12-tone equal temperament. But I mean, up until that point, that's not how pianos were tuned. Ed says Japanese is easier than Spanish, guys. You don't have to roll your R's. It's like, actually, well, there is a place if you want to speak like a Japanese gangster and you say "konnichiwa," that kind of stuff, and like the again, yeah, you have to roll your R's. So they do have R rollings. It's just very, very informal and not the most polite Japanese. You do have to learn the R, though. It's between in English L and R. Yeah, that's right. So they don't say ra-ri-ri-ro, and they don't say la-li-lu-le-lo. They say la-li-lu-le-lo. La-li-lu-le-lo. So it's not deskara, it's deskala. Deskara. Right? Very soft R right in between an L. So that's a good point. Okay, last question on the Discord over here, which is, what is a good source for finding honkyoku sheet music? I need to collect them all. Have you ever come across shakuhachi related things in hobby off of similar stores? Thank you for always answering our random thoughts. Absolutely, Robert. My pleasure. Okay, so what's a good place to pick up honkyoku sheet music? Well, if you go to my website, we are building that collection slowly. We're rewriting all of them. I have one of my students who is a very good calligrapher, and he is going along and slowly rewriting all of the honkyoku scores, and so that we have like a really nice collection of music that's all in the same hand style. There are some places like Meijido where you can purchase Honkyoku scores, but sometimes it's very actually difficult to get your hands on certain scores, so you actually have to get them from your teacher. The best place to get music is through your teacher, your individual private teacher, or whoever you're studying shakuhachi with, or the community of shakuhachi players that you happen to be a part of. That would be the location where to get your music from. Okay, so next little thing here. We are now at 22,000 subscribers, which means we're a little bit closer to 50%. Our next goal is 50,000 subscribers, so we're about 43% of the way there. Very, very much excited to see that journey. We also have a very special video coming out on Friday, so if you're not subscribed, well, why not? Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, like this video. You're already here. Why not? SYD has something. Now you mention it. Do we have actually a collection of scores, either modern pieces or traditional pieces? When you say we, you mean like me? Because I have a very large collection of scores, both modern pieces and traditional pieces. I have stuff in Tozan notation. I've got stuff in Kinko notation. I've got stuff in Fuhou notation. I've got manuals from the 1600s and the 1700s. I've got collections from Myoanji. I've got collections from a variety of sources. Same with modern pieces as well. And then I've also commissioned a bunch of pieces too. So I have a bunch of pieces that are just only that I think I have the score for at the moment. Would love for other people to play them though. Okay, so another little quick thing about the upcoming shakuhachi giveaway. So we're going to be giving away another shakuhachi, a brand new Yozan 1.8. How do you win? Great question. You just join the membership. If you're already on the membership, you're already in the raffle. When you join the membership, there are 4 levels: Shoden Trial, Shoden Lessons, Chuden Lessons, and the Okuden Lesson Series. And for each one, you get a number of tickets that go along with it. The lowest level 1 ticket, the second level 2 tickets, the third level 5 tickets, and the fourth level, you get 10 tickets. The drawing is happening very soon. It's going to be in 2 weeks from today. So it will be on September 30th, Japan Standard Time at 11 a.m. SYD says, if I upgrade the membership, will I get additional tickets? Yes, you will. So it matters. The only thing that matters is the day of that giveaway, whatever your rank is at that point is what matters, right? So because that will be the morning, as like when I get up at like 4 a.m. or something like that. That's what I usually do, 4 or 5 a.m. I'll copy and paste all the people who are current members on the channel, and then I will have ChatGPT do its thing, and then I will have it pick a winner, and then we will announce who that winner is at 11 a.m. So if you are not already a member, we actually had someone new sign up just a couple, I think it was actually like yesterday too, from this. And we have another question from Vasily, so let's jump into that as well. But yeah, we have a, let's see here. Let me look up that really quickly. If I upgrade, will you answer my Japanese question? Well, what was your, did I miss your Japanese question? Write your Japanese question in again. I'll do my best. Sorry if I missed it. Let's see here. Let's see, membership. We had that guy that came in yesterday, I believe. Yes, we did. He just joined yesterday. So very cool. Yeah. So that, I mean, so he'll be in the potential winnings of the new flute. So Vasily says, question: if I was to introduce someone to shakuhachi music through your video recordings, which 3 pieces or videos would you recommend to share? Oh, well, it depends on the person, right? So I'll give you just kind of like the 3 that I think would probably do the best, just because of its its whole entire thing. So I would say the Ghost of Tsushima, the Sun's Warm Embrace would be the first one. The second one that I would do would be the Nesting Cranes. And then the fourth one I would do would probably be my Hon Shirabe recording on the 3.0. Those would be my guesses. I think that hits a lot of the basis. Like, you get really flashy from the Tsuru no Sugimori, the nesting cranes. You get the popularity of the Ghost of Tsushima stuff, and then you kind of get the meditative long tone aspect in Honshirabe. So that would be 3. All right, Copy Ninja, what's your question? Because I did answer. Okay, most health teachers have been studying for years. Okay, so I did recommend Japanese Pod 101. That was my biggest thing. So, but most helpful tip for learning Japanese. You've been working at it years and you're struggling with speaking. Okay, so the thing with speaking, this is what I would do. What I would do is I would take a book out, put on a recorder, and read out loud and record yourself, and then listen back. If you want that's the best way you're going to get better at speaking. I promise you. Like on your own, that's the best way. Then the second way is just force yourself into groups or into individual conversations where you are forced to speak Japanese. And that would be the second way of doing it. HSBP recommends my cover of Barbie Girl. I also would recommend my recording of Elmo's song too. I have one of those on the top 10 forbidden tunes. That's a really great piece. Really captures the soul. Elmo does that kind of thing to you. And SYD says very very nice pieces for my reference. Yeah, I like those pieces a lot. I want it that way. That's a really great one too for sharing it with your shakuhachi friends or with trying to get people in. You know, there's nothing like a good recording of NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. A cover on that could really just steal the hearts of many. So you think the Forbidden Tunes SYD have to be in the full versions? I'll talk to my producer about that. That's probably going to be a hard no, but we appreciate all of your feedback. I want to pull up the 10 tunes because I don't even remember which ones I did. I know I did the final countdown as well. Oh yeah, if I'm going to do them, I have to do it with choreography. Yeah, otherwise it's not even worth it. I also did the Pokemon theme song. I remember that one. Okay, so here are the 10 that I did. I did Barbie Girl, which is ineligible for revenue sharing, by the way. Then we did It's Raining Men. Okay, so It's Raining Men, that's a full cover. So you can listen to It's Raining Men, and that's a Wagaki ensemble that I did with Kyle Abbott and friends with Waves of Harmony. Final Countdown, the Sesame Street Sunny Day. Careless Whisper, I did the opening of that. I did I Want It That Way, the Pokemon theme song, Baby Shark, Hit Me Baby. Hit Me Baby was pretty good. And then my favorite out of all of them was Stay With Me. And I actually really like that song too. It's really good. It's a Japanese city pop. And city pop is an underrated genre. I think some tunes have become pretty popular. But overall, I don't think that I still think it's underrated as a genre as a whole. So, very good. I would love to do a full version of Stay With Me on shakuhachi and piano. That would be really cool. So maybe I'll do that one, and try to get like a really really good high HD audio recording of that tune because it's such a great song. Such a great song. And another thing too I've actually done a little bit more recently is I've been doing a lot of Anka tunes. Anka is actually one of the most popular genres, if not the number one popular genre in Asia. Japanese Anka. And it's kind of like, if I was to try to explain it to somebody who's never heard it before, it's like Japanese Frank Sinatra. Same drama, same big band orchestras, super beautiful kimonos and expensive suits, and the same kind of kind of picturesque, perfect person up on stage with a golden mic that's sparkly and, singing their hearts out. Is the way Yuka from Wagaki sings? No, I don't think so. That's more of like folk music. Though Anka does have a folk music element to it. So let me pull up, since we're here, let's pull up a version of an Anka piece, and that way you can at least hear it. So this is one of my favorites. Tsugaru Kaikyo. So here would be an example of what Anka would sound like. There you go. So SYD, so now I believe you're in Asia, so you know, and because you're saying like you heard that all the time in your family karaoke. That's exactly right. So those kind of songs where you have that. That kind of stuff, right? Those really nice, like, Japanese sounding melodies and so on. And Ernie, yes, Japanese Pod 101 is still around. It is. Okay, Ed asks, would you consider performing your own interpretation of Sakura to Sakura, or have you, or a Moon over the Ruined Castle? Yes, actually, if you go to my YouTube page, I have a version of Moon over a Ruined Castle, Kojo no Tsuki, on there that I just uploaded last week. Okay, Dat Guitar, do you enjoy playing pieces with pretty and predictable melodies on shakuhachi anymore, or being a composer of virtuosic music, you get bored? Do you get bored with them? I like them both. I love soaring melodies, and I love really difficult stuff too. So, I mean, I played Air by Takemitsu. I played Itinerant by Takemitsu. I did the pieces by Stephen Yip. And actually, Episodes of Renka is one that I commissioned. And then I've also done, I did a concert featuring the music of La La Land. So that was with harp and shakuhachi about 5 years ago. And I've done, last week I did the Anka performances. And then, so yeah, I mean, I do like a balance of both of them. And I try not to put myself into one area. Like, I'm not trying to say I don't want to just be a honkyoku player. I don't want to just be a contemporary player. I don't want to be a folk music player. I want to do shakuhachi, right? And shakuhachi goes in all of those areas of music. So I enjoy all of it. I even enjoy playing bluegrass shakuhachi, and bluegrass shakuhachi is pretty darn cool. I've never recorded anything of it, but it's fun to play, and I like it. So when I was my first year of college, we had this professor that taught our introduction to music and music appreciation. And one of the things that she said was, it's all music, it's all good. Right? And I agree with that. Vasily, congratulations. He says this: shakuhachi earned me a Tinder match last week. All those years of struggling were not in vain. That's amazing. So that, I mean, if you're not marrying her though, then it's all in vain. So now you have a big challenge. You have to meet them and see if it's actually going to be the love of your life. So there you have it. So what a great week. We hit 22,000. Vasily found his love of his life through the shakuhachi. We're having a really important, fantastic video coming out on Friday. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. We're giving away the shakuhachi in 2 weeks. Really looking forward to seeing who wins that shakuhachi. It's on the 30th at 11 a.m. How do you win? How do you win the shakuhachi? Well, you got to join the membership. Dat Guitar, I see you're not part of the membership. Join the membership. Only costs you $2.99 a month for the lowest level, $4.99 for the second level. It's very cheap. I try to keep it really low. So if you join it, there are 4 levels, right? There are 4 levels: 1 ticket, 2 ticket, 5 ticket, and 10 tickets. So sign up. It's worth it. I promise you. It's not just a little membership tag that you get. There's a bunch of videos on education on how to learn the shakuhachi, how to play the shakuhachi, and so much more. And let's see, we got some other things. Ernie says, do Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon, please. I'll think about it. SYD, here in my place, people are more attracted to shamisen compared to the shakuhachi, I think is what you mean. So, yeah, I can see that. Shamisen is a really popular instrument. Love Kyle, love Bachido, love the Bachido community, but can save some people for us, please. Save some people for the Taidu community over here. We need some bodies to play some shakuhachi. All right, and Copy Ninja says great stream. Well, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. So next week, this is important information. Next week we will be doing even a more interesting time, and we'll see if this time works out or not. So the next time will be in Japan time, 7 p.m. Japan time, 7 p.m. So right now it is, we did the stream at 2 p.m. and now it's 3 p.m. So, SYD, this is the last question I'll answer because I think it's really important. So do you have any tips for shakuhachi to be more popularized than shamisen? Get good and play it all over the place. That's the number one way. Get good, play it all over the place. Okay? All right, you guys have a great week. I will see you next week for our next live stream. And then the most exciting stuff ever, we're going to give away that shakuhachi. So you have to definitely sign up and join the membership. Tell your friends to join the membership. I'll see you guys then.